And what might you need, Of course.
Huh? Oh, sorry. I was a little busy fending off a goblin horde. Did you need something?
You forget. I've been on thousands of it. I've defeated the most Not even... She keeps sending me letters, via courier, asking about my life. Tell me about it. That princess I saved from Numenex? She turned out to be extremely possessive and incredibly demanding.
Right behind you.
Is there something I can do for you?
I have many important things on my mind. Your concerns are not among them. Are you quite sure we need to be speaking? Now that stability has been established between the Dominion and the Empire, we seek only to help Skyrim, to guide its people through this time of transition, to help lead them to a better future. I am an advisor to the Archmage. The Thalmor wish to promote relations with your college. I am at the Archmage's disposal if he requires advice. Perhaps not as often as he should. In time, I believe he will be more trusting. I had hoped your scholars would be on a level comparable with my own colleagues. They are not. I'm disappointed to say I've learned little during my time here.
Confound it all! This page too! That makes 5 in total. This is unacceptable! A page from one of these texts, and 4 others, torn right from the spine. I've consulted with Urog's apprentice girl, and she insisted, rather emphatically, that none of these tomes have been checked out for years. I told the girl that wouldn't preclude a thief from browsing the cases. I don't blame her, though. It's the head librarian's duty to keep more sensitive texts behind sealed doors. Or perhaps it's the fault of the one who trained him. In either case, the result is the same. It is as I feared. Someone has managed to steal key pages from the writings of Trectus. Indeed. Although I doubt that name lacks reverence here. This is an institution of higher learning, I hope. It certainly has the pretension of one. It is not an error. It's far more likely that Urog holds an opposing position regarding the substance of these texts. Not to mention a stubborn refusal to recognize that a controversial theory might actually have merit. The majority of scholars are split between 2 disparate camps. Some believe the texts are worthless scribbles written by a child, one who had yet to grasp the vastness of his destiny. Others contend that the author is not Vanus himself, but a pretender hoping to profit from the mage's name. Both camps, however, are in agreement that the texts themselves have no intellectual merit. There are some, however, who attribute the text to a different origin. Not the young Trictus, but the elder Vanus Galarian. The theory states that Vanus wrote the text in the guise of his younger self, precisely so that scholars would question its authenticity. By diverting the eyes of those who seek power, it provided an extra layer of security, in addition to the cryptic nature of the text itself. Each book is a cleverly crafted tale that hints towards the ideals of a particular school of magic. However, the overall narrative is unimportant. From what I have gathered in my time here, it seems the school of magic is simply a mechanism. For instance, I found lighting a text with an alteration spell revealed a hidden message written in an ink altered to mimic a human soul. Of course, without the knowledge to light the aura of life aglow, the mage's search would end there. The chain continues until one reaches the destination, the final pages that contain detailed notes on the crafting of a new spell. I'm afraid not. The texts are evidence, and the methods Galarian used to encode the journals must undergo further study. Once I have informed Urog of his omission, he will add the works to this library's collection, along with the missing pages, should they be retrieved. If you have scholarly interest, however, I can share with you the 5 tales of Galarian's youth. They are quite interesting. As a young child, Galarian's father bought books from smugglers in order to teach his son how to read. As serfs of a minor nobleman, Lord Janess of Solikic-on-Ker, such knowledge was strictly forbidden. Galarian recounted how his father taught him to avert his eyes at every signpost, and to speak with improper diction. Most of all, he warned him not to reference the tales he read, but more importantly, the cities, beasts, and forests contained therein. For the spell would be broken the instant their lord realized the boy knew things his eyes could not see. Galarian's mother was an old-fashioned woman, one comfortable with her station. She never wanted to deprive Galarian of knowledge. She was, however, fearful of the consequences. A seed of dread was planted in her mind, and grew into a forest of despair. It was only a matter of time before her husband or her child would slip and betray their literacy. In truth, Lord Janess suspected nothing, but in her reality, she saw her husband on the gallows, and through her actions, she made it true. Vanus's father died from the crime of literacy. He was hung, his body left out for weeks as the sweltering heat bubbled the skin of his fetid corpse. The effigy itself was gruesome, but so was the cruelty of Lord Janess. He forced Galarian to scrub the gallows every day, as his father hung lifelessly above him. He held the lessons of his father close to his heart, and never spoke an indignant word, no matter how callously the nobleman prodded him. However, if one stayed awake past the dead of night, one could hear the violence echoing from the basement of the servants' quarters. As a child, Vanus Galarian escaped his birth home of Solikic-on-Ker. He simply crept out of his quarters one night and ran. He never stopped running. He had trekked halfway across the Somerset Isle when he reached the shores of Alinor. There was nowhere left to run. Exhausted, he collapsed in a ditch. It is there that a band of troubadours found his body and nursed him back to health. They employed him as an errand boy and gave him food and shelter, and the life he had seemingly lost was somehow returned to him. Vanus Galarian once ran with a group of troubadours. They performed from city to city, regaling crowds with their song and flair. One of them was a former jester, a man with deft hands. From out of the ether, he would withdraw a bouquet of flowers or a septum from your ear. However, it was the group as a whole who cast a spell on the young boy, drawing a smile that had been lost to the void. As you will. I mentioned the pages from 5 separate texts were stolen. This is no coincidence. I'm sure you can divine why. Exactly. According to the theory, there was purpose to Galarian's decision to divide his childhood journals into 5 parts. Contained within each was a tale that alluded to spells and techniques authored by a specific school. It is well known that Galarian's gifts for magic were quite diverse. He could restore a rose to full bloom not long after burning it aflame, all the while fooling the mind into believing its scent had rotted away. The theory goes that Galarian was on the verge of completing 5 new spells, 1 for each school. Spells of such tremendous power that even the immortal armies of Manimarco would countenance their fear. Unfortunately, Galarian's obsession with his nemesis deprived him of his patience. Nevertheless, before he embarked on the great battle, he left notes encoded in 5 works, so others could continue his research. I have an inkling. I was able to glean some clues based on my interviews of the residents of Winterhold, who seem far more observant of mages than the faculty. I sent my assistant, Jado Ra, to investigate the matter further, but I fear something grave has befallen him. Finally, someone with initiative. I need someone to scout the area he was investigating. Your safety is paramount. If the mage in question is at the site, do not attempt to confront him, even if Jado Ra is in imminent danger. The Khajiit is a crafty one. He will leave clues behind even in death. Yet if you sacrifice both your lives, both your efforts will be squandered. Good. Jado Ra last left for Solitude, but it is unlikely he is still there. I would start with the caverns near the shoreline. If you find him, and find him well, he may ask for a passphrase. Yes. The problem is, I seem to have forgotten that inscrutable Khajiit word he gave me. So in exchange, I ask you to tell him this. Tell him how, when I met him, I mocked his whiskers, how they were as black as an Imperial's hair. Tell him that his eyes are so narrow that even when he laughs he looks unhappy. Yet their color still shines as bright as the sun. And if he finds that too sentimental, tell him he was more valuable as a rug. And when he accidentally lights his fur on fire, he would no longer be worth anything to anyone.
I heard in the Dark Brotherhood they assign a listener just so people can vent their problems. Just the one. Let's just say Neri and Faralda are having Sergius enchant more than just items. Neri and Faralda are Altmer. They may not look it, but Sergius is probably half their age. The Arcanium is a very prestigious library, with many of its books going back to the Second Era. The more delicate tomes are kept under lock and key, but you're welcome to browse the outer collection at your leisure. Master Groshob has a list of books unfit for the collection. Frivolous works by academic standards, but still interesting reads. Talk to him if you want more information. Recently, I've been tasked with updating the college dictionary, which is a thankless but important job. Dictionaries are critical tools for preserving language, and they allow future generations to communicate with their ancestors. Not necessarily. Master says spoken language is a living, breathing organism, always evolving and shedding old skin. In contrast, the written word is both living and dead. It's filled with babies and grandparents. My job is to introduce you to them. Just one. In the interest of efficiency, Master insists that I only make updates when there are at least 10 new words worth adding. Well, if he's going to be so rigid about it, I'm going to speed the process by developing some of my own. Not at all. I put a lot of thought into each new term. I want my contributions to last. Sure. You know how people use animals as verbs or gerunds? Like ferreting out or squirreling about or wolfing down? Well, I thought, why not apply the same logic to trolls? I find trolls to be very fierce, but honest creatures. The way I see it, trolling could mean stating your opinion, but with honesty and passion. You know, the same way a troll fights. That's because it's still fresh. It takes time for these things to really sink in. I'm Mr. Groshov's apprentice. While I've been trained in the library arts, at the moment, my duties are rather limited. There isn't much that Master can't handle already. I'm more of an understudy, someone who takes over if and when he retires. Which, at this rate, will be anywhere between someday and never. No, and it's not an exaggeration. I know Master Groshub looks old, well, because he is. Way too old for an orc. The rumor around here is that he's immortal, as in, he measures time by the era. Which means, unless I start a competing library, I'm stuck being an apprentice forever. Well, I meant it as a joke, but if you say so. All right, then.